The Iranian regime spends its people's wealth on spreading militancy and terror abroad rather than ensuring prosperity at home. We stand in total solidarity with the Iranian regime's longest-suffering victims, its own people.
Developing tonight, Iran gearing up for what could be a seventh day of protests. Today, Iran's supreme leader accusing the country's enemies, like the United States, for the violent clashes that have so far claimed more than 20 lives. The demonstrations began as a protest over Iran's beleaguered economy, but have since widened to a more general expression of anger over alleged government corruption and leadership. President Trump tweeting in support of the protesters today, saying, quote, "Many reports of peaceful protests by Iranian citizens fed up with regime's corruption and its squandering of the nation's wealth to fund terrorism abroad. Iranian government should respect their people's rights, including right to express themselves. The world is watching." Here now, retired Staff Sergeant Robert Bartlett, an Iraq combat veteran who was badly injured when his convoy hit an Iranian bomb, and can speak to how horrific that regime has become. Sergeant, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, Sandra.
You can obviously talk to us specifically about how that regime so badly impacted your own life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I joined UANI and Vets Against the Deal to try to stop them from getting the nuclear bomb a long time ago. And I'm still on that mission today. When they got the blood of 500 Americans just in the last few years on their hands, they've been killing Americans since the 1970s, and we just really haven't done a whole lot really about it.
And you've been against that deal with Iran from go.
Absolutely, absolutely. It paved the way for a lot of things. The billions of dollars and money to go over. That obviously is not going to the people, and you're seeing the protests now. And then all of a sudden you see, which is kind of funny, you see another rogue regime like North Korea all of a sudden getting a supercharged nuclear program. So you wonder where that untraceable money is really going.
When we talk to you and see how deeply affected you are by the Iranian regime, it makes you wonder we can talk about the politics all day long and talk about the strategy. Of course, that is important. But one might wonder how it makes you feel to hear President Trump say the world is watching and actually back the Iranian people in these protests.
It's wonderful. I went to school with Iranians, American Iranians, great guys. There's plenty of good people in the world and in every country. The problem is bad regimes. We had a bad regime in Iraq. We've had bad regimes in Afghanistan. And we've had a bad regime for a long time in Iran that we've been dealing with. They've been killing Americans, have blood on their hands for years, since the 70s.
So when you hear the president talk about this, and there are calls, you've heard the politics today, saying we need to do more. It's one thing to say something. It's another thing to show how we're going to act. Lindsey Graham saying we need to lay out our strategy and how we're going to move forward here. I'm just curious how this is your mission in life now.
Yeah. You never know where you're going to end up. You start with a 30-year-old guy bartending. You go to war because the war starts. You go to sniper school. You end up getting blown up. You spend 4.5 years at Walter Reed, and then you're getting involved in trying to stop bad policies from happening and continue to save Americans on a policy level. You never know where you're going to end up. You just you roll with the punches, as they say.
Sergeant Bartlett, it's an honor to speak with you tonight. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Sandra. I appreciate it.